The book Persepolis is a graphical novel that shows a timeline of Marjan Satrapi's life, where she describes how she lived in the Iranian Revolution. Marjan was born in 1969, but she grew up in Tehran, the capital of Iran. At the opening of the book, Marjan is 10 years old, the year after the Iranian Revolution started. She studied in Vienna, and after she ends up a relationship, she lived in the streets, ending up with a bronchitis. Then she returned to her home, and after that, she started studying arts. When she became a professional artist, she left the country again. When the revolution started in 1979, social and cultural changes could be noticed. In school, girls must wear a veil and attend to a religious girl-only school. She doesn't really understand what was happening, but her mother always told her to do everything the authorities demand to protect her and her family. Her family helped her make sense of what was going on around her. Violence was a daily event as a demonstrations in the streets. When her loved uncle Anush returns, Margie finds out that he had fought as a revolutionary and he had spent time in prison. She started even going out to some demonstrations with her parents. The country became each day more religious. Iraq began bombing Tehran, and the family had to spend time in a bomb shelter, the basement. Marjan understood each time more and more about the situation they were going through, thanks to her family and friends, and the sad but true stories they told her. During the development of the book, she and her family get used to the government impositions, but they keep doing parties and have fun hidden from everybody. Margie tries to be a normal teenager. She likes punk music and loves to get dressed as an American girl, but she frightens her parents when she buys stuff like music tapes on the black market. In the school, she started even hanging up with older friends, but because of that, Margie started to have a rebellious behavior, an anarchist attitude. At the age of 14, her parents announced that she will be moving to Austria to attend a new school alone. At first sight, it was what she wanted, a little of independence, but later she noticed she will be really alone there. That's how the book ends, with her saying goodbye to her parents at the airport. That's the brief timeline of the first part of this novel. Now I'm going to mention some of the main characters that were involved into Marjan's life. The first one is Margie. She's a strong-willed but confident but confused protagonist. The confusion is because her attempts at trying to understand the embattled and restrictive world that she lives in. She defends her independence and individually. She reacts to the forces around her by variously denying or resigning herself to them. She loved her grandma and admired her dad, even when she thought he wasn't a hero. Marjan's mom is a revolutionary woman. She wants her to live her own life. She's super clever and she's able to talk her way out of it. She's also good at lying, that's why she always caught Margie lying. She is a little bit overprotective because of the situation of the country, but she allows Margie a lot of freedom. Marjan's dad is a photographer. He often finds himself in dangerous situations, photographing political protest. He's a great source of information on what is really going on in Iran. He's sure Margie can be the one who changed the world. Marjan's grandma is a very influential figure in Marjan's life. She always gives her tips of beauty and to always keep her dignity up. She reminds Marjan that her ancestors fought for freedom, not for imprisoning innocents. Uncle Anush had a crazy life. His uncle helped Azerbaijan declare its independence. He and himself was a revolutionary who escaped Iran for the Soviet Union. He married and had 2 kids with a woman in the USSR. It's Marjan's start of her life. And finally Mary, who is the family mate who started working with them when she was 8 years. She was like the older sister Marjan never had. The situation that was going on in the country is the main topic of the book. The book is centered in this big conflict that is the Islamic Revolution of 1979. How is that possible? The regime of the Shah of Persia in Iran ends, taking a step onto an Islamic Republic. Iran started throwing off the previous modern cultural influences to stick into a strict religious fundamentalist vision of the Islam. intense social changes took place. The war between Iran and Iraq begins. In the country, basically everything was banned. The constant Iraqi bombings, the death, and the difficulties forced people to accept the new conditions of the regime, such as the marginalization of women, the use of the veil, and the unjust imprisonments and execution. Having an identity was very dangerous.